The 2024 fantasy football season has finally come to an end. We can finally return to being present friends, brothers, sons, husbands, fathers, whatever you're out there. You can be a good one of those with the NFL fantasy football season done. We can delete the apps that have consumed our time and attention. We can spend Tuesdays away from waivers, Thursdays and Fridays. We don't have to worry about painful start-sit decisions. The season is done. And we're going to break down the biggest trends and lessons learned from the year sometime next week. So we'll do that. We'll get that all to you after we've had some time to marinate on what happened. But before we do that, we wanted to get together. We want to celebrate some of the biggest highs and lows from the season. So on today's episode of the Regression to the Mean podcast, we have the third annual Regression to the Mean end of season awards. We are joined by my good friends, my fellow co-hosts, my fellow knowers of ball, Aidan Haller, Keegan Thompson. Keegan, this is like our third one of these we've done, end of season awards. Usually I lose you around like minute 35 with some of the award names, but typically you're you're a big deal at getting some of the big names to show up, which I heard Jamarr Chase is actually in the building because of Keegan Thompson. Keegan, man, how you doing today?
Yeah, this is the third year running of these awards, like Shaun said, and we've gotten no players to show up the first 2 years. It's pending. We have some people that said they were going to be here tonight. I haven't checked the back rooms yet, so we'll see when we present awards if they actually are here or not. But one day maybe they'll accept the invites. Invites were sent out. We did call upon people, and our people talked to their people. I just not sure if they made it to their inboxes.
And we have a live studio audience as always. So
that's the best part about these
guys.
shows.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate you making it out. Aidan, man, how are you doing today, dude?
I'm doing well. It feels good to get my life back. It was such a weight getting lifted after fantasy football ended. Like, I don't remember it being this like dramatic. I just felt it right away. Like that Tuesday came, I paid out all my leagues that I'm commissioner in, and it was like, I'm free. It's the meme with the guy taking the shackles off, in like the sunset. It was what a season, but no, it's great to be on the other side now. So it's glad we're gonna be making some jokes about it. Maybe getting some PTSD, but yeah, I'm excited, guys.
Yeah, it was a year. That's how I'd put it. First time in a first time in a while I didn't take home a fantasy ship, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. So yeah, that's how I'm feeling around these parts. But regardless, though, it was a fun year. The highlight of the year was talking ball. We had a great time. We had some highs, we had some lows, we had some big wins, we had some big L's. So that's what we're going to do on today's episode. We are going to kind of celebrate all that. So it's going to be a good time. Before we do that, though, Keegan, again, this is probably the first time anyone's ever watched our awards show after we've kind of picked up all these subscribers. What should the good people be expecting at home?
Yeah, so today, if you're joining us for the first time, this will be new for you. If you're a true listener of RTM, you heard this when we were audio only, and we did it, and we injected the studio audience into your audio feeds, so you know how this goes. But if you are new today, we're going to share some highs, like Shaun said, but we're also going to talk about the lows, and we're going to get together, and we're going to celebrate, but both commiserate on what a wonky and weird fantasy season is. We're going to highlight some players that you probably share some similar thoughts on. We're going to talk about the good. We're going to talk about the bad, but you're going to join us and consider this your fantasy therapy. We will go through lessons learned, but consider this your fantasy therapy today with the RTM group. So join us, mourn with us over players that left us too soon in the season, celebrate with us on late round hits and second round breakout and second half of the season breakouts, and join us. Hold on. It's going to feel like it's going to drag a little bit, but we'll get through all the awards. And you're going to want to stay for all of them. I promise. They only get better as we go on. So stick around, like the video, comment on it. If you have an award nominee that you'd like to see for next year's show, and give us your input. Tell us who your awards are. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, are we going to stamp the awards? They might be able to jump around. So even if they're dragging.
Yeah, we'll stamp the awards. Yeah, anytime, we time stamp them,
Look what Daddy did.
There we go. First one of the show.
There it is. All right. We are We're off to the races here. So we're going to start things off with the first prestigious award that we're going to offer here on our award show. It's pretty standard. You're going to see this in a lot of fantasy football podcasts that are recapping the 2024 season, but that is the fantasy MVP. I think there are probably 2, 3, maybe 4 guys that we realistically could pigeonhole here. But Keegan, you and me have the same guy. So we'll start off with our winner, and then we'll get to Aidan's winner. But the guy that Keegan and I are going with as the fantasy MVP this season, I don't think it's too much of a shock. He is on pace to win the Triple Crown, be the 5th guy in NFL history to do that. And that is none other than Jamarr Chase. So when you're looking at all the available fantasy MVP candidates, Keegan Thompson, why Jamarr? Why Jamarr over Derrick Henry? Why Jamarr over Saquon? What led you to Uno on the Bengals?
I think when you go back and you go through some of the offseason reports, Jamarr Chase took such a dip on his draft stock because of a potential week 1 holdout and a Joe Burrow wrist injury, and the water bottle gate, I think, struck a lot of fear into the pass catchers of the Cincinnati Bengals. And Jamarr Chase just turned around and had, one of the best PPR seasons of all time for a wide receiver. And in a year where it felt like early RBs crushed, like Jamarr Chase really carried the wide receivers totem pole for the rest of the group throughout the entire year. And it wasn't really in blips either. It was like consistently throughout the season. He's also one of the only wide receivers I know that can not just shred you for one game, but there are multiple 40, 35 plus point games in Jamarr Chase's repertoire throughout the year. I think there's just not a player that probably won more matchups by himself than Jamarr Chase did this year.
What's really cool about Chase, and we can put the numbers into context. So 9th best PPR season ever for a wide receiver. Surprisingly, CD had a better year last year. I would not have guessed that. I think what makes Chase's season so remarkable is considering the wide receiver position kind of catered this year. Everyone got hurt or wasn't very good or aged out. It was just kind of a tough year for the elite wide receivers, just wide receivers in general and passing offenses. And it did not matter for Jamarr Chase. I've drafted Chase a ton since he came into the league, and this is the only year I haven't had him on a team, coincidentally. And I've always asked myself, can we just get a healthy season where him and Burrow are healthy, where the defense is bad, and Zach Taylor just gets out of the way, and they just throw the piss out of the ball and see what happens? And that's what we got. We had a pure run out. Their defense stunk. Joe Burrow was the best quarterback, I think, in the NFL this year. I know he's not going to win the MVP, but the quarterback he played was spectacular. It didn't even matter if T. Higgins played or not. Like, he had huge games with or without T, which was always kind of a thing we had to navigate as Jamarr Chase backers. Like, it just was a pure, perfect run out, and it was a ceiling season for Chase. And it was awesome to watch, man. So, yeah, easily the fantasy MVP. We played in leagues where he fell into the second round because of the holdout issues. It's kind of crazy to think how dumb that it seems in hindsight.
Yeah.
But that was
valid.
A lot of drama.
It was valid.
We get the other end of it, right? So holdouts matter, but then we saw Ayuk and how bad Ayuk was post-holdout, right? So, like, we're now going to have to go through all this and how this works and how we navigate all of it. But
the waters are muddier than ever around holdouts now, because now we have 2 conflicting holdout seasons from one year. It's like, what side do you want to take?
He could be Jamarr. It's like, oh, great.
Yeah, but he could be one of the most prolific wide receivers of all time, or he could be Brandon Ayuk,
A lot of stuff had to happen for Jamarr to get here, but it did. And if you drafted him, congratulations. That's why you take risks. That's why upside wins fantasy championships. And now in hindsight, it feels like a no-brainer. So that gets us to Aidan's pick for fantasy MVP, where in hindsight, this just seemed like an absolute no-brainer. So why, after 16 games and 2,000 yards and how many other records he set this season, is Saquon Barkley your fantasy MVP, Aidan?
Yeah, so I think you nailed it. I think you could pick 2 people for MVP. I think it's either Jamarr or Saquon. You could probably make the Josh Allen case, but like, he's done this like 3 years in a row now at this point. Like, you kind of drafted him there. So I think like kind of take that one out. But just looking at Saquon, he was exactly what we wanted. He did everything and more, was the RB1 by a pretty wide margin, about 40 points ahead of the next person in terms of PPR scoring. You took him somewhere in the second round, likely. guy that actually no, it was probably towards the end of the first. It was kind of fluctuating.
He was the 1-2 turn, yeah.
Yeah, he was at the 1-2 turn. So you got him either, towards the back end of the first or the second round. And the dude was just an absolute maniac. Looked like rookie Saquon Barkley, as Shaun mentioned, eclipsed 2,000 yards. If he wanted to, he would have broken the rushing record this week, but the Eagles had nothing to play for. So he'll come up 100 yards short, but he did clear that prestigious 2,000-yard mark with which only a handful of people have done. Was a beast out of the backfield as well. Caught just over 30 passes, just shy of 300 yards there, a couple more TDs. And there's some meat left on the bone too. I'm sure, for all of you Saquon owners, anytime you got down to the one, it was, like PTSD. It was like, here we go again. Jalen Hurts had 14 rushing touchdowns. So, we probably left at least a half dozen out there in terms of Saquon going down at the one. But, dude, what an absolute beast. Saquon is fully back. We moaned and groaned for years while he was in New York behind a bad offensive line, but behind bad QB play. And we got good QB play and a fantastic offensive line. So Saquon, dude, what an absolute beast. My running back one next year, like no doubt about it. I'll probably Bijan closely behind him, but Saquon Barkley will be a top 2, top 3 fantasy pick, depending on your formats and kind of on how you prefer to build teams. So Saquon, man, take a bow. What a season.
Yeah. Everything you said, it'd be a bummer if someone had faded him right before the beginning of the year. But
me and Keegan were on it.
We'll get to
Shaun didn't believe, but
I'll take my comeuppance. It was all just bias. When I've now gone back and thought about it. I just hate the Eagles, man. That's all that was.
That's fair, man. That's
all that was. And I got to be better than that. Yeah, I got to be better than that.
Any honorable mentions on this one? You think anyone else like? Those are two such strong cases. Both scored over 350 PPR points. Did you guys have anyone else you were kind of teetering on here?
I mean, Chase scored 76 more points than Justin Jefferson, who finished at ridiculous 2.
What was the QB scoring out of curiosity? Was it close?
Lamar outscored Josh
Allen.
Allen.
You're right.
Lamar outscored. You make Lamar as an MVP, but
Dude, Lamar was like a 5th round pick in redraft in some drafts, like
Bowers, tight end 1, 250 fantasy points. You took him in the 9th round, man. I mean, that's pretty legit.
But you probably had other people carrying. Yeah. But Saquon and Jamarr, absolutely.
Josh Jacobs was pretty sweet in the 3rd, but nothing crazy.
Yeah. I think just to add to these two, actually, both of our guys came through in the playoffs. Jamarr averaged right around 20 during playoffs. Saquon just about the same. So these weren't guys that took you to the playoffs and left you at the bus stop. It was guys that carried you all the way and hopefully helped hoist you some championships. So heroic performances.
Well, major congratulations to Jamarr Chase, Saquon Barkley, guys. If you're here, congratulations. The studio audience is super juiced.
I think that's them.
I'm getting word.
I can hear them in the other room. Yeah,
I'm getting word that is my DoorDash driver. That is not Saquon Barkley and Jamarr Chase. All right, award number 2. We're unveiling this. This is a new name. This used to be the I will never financially recover from this award, but we have now changed it to the aptly named You Ruined My Sundays Award for the biggest bust. We're going to kick things off here with Aidan. Aidan, I think it's between I think this guy's probably the most obvious, but I have more of a personal one that I'm going to get into that Keegan's going to tail because Keegan tailed the pick in the first place. So we're together on this one. Let's start things off here. Why are you crowning Travis Etienne the biggest bust in fantasy football this year?
Yeah, so just for starters, we were expecting a big year from Travis Etienne. You look at what he did last year. He was the running back 3 in PPR formats.
God,
he is 25 years old. He's in his prime. This is, supposed to be the best years of Travis Etienne's career. Drafted as running back 8, finished as running back 38. But he never gave you anything. There was not a single truly usable week from Travis Etienne. Not once did he finish inside the top 19 as a weekly finisher. Did not eclipse 15 fantasy points on a single week. A guy that is supposed to be a safe floor with his pass catching with Trevor Lawrence and their chemistry back to Clemson. Just an absolute faceplant. This, I actually didn't have any Etienne on any teams. This is a guy that I just didn't get around to with how the boards fell to me. But what an absolute disaster! And we're being real. I don't see it getting any better. Tank Bigsby looks like he's the real deal. The days of Travis Etienne dominating that backfield and being a potential like RB1 finisher feel like that is long behind us. So yeah, man, if you took Travis Etienne in the second round where he was being drafted, I would be shocked if he made the playoffs. Shocked.
Yeah, he's an interesting buy in Dynasty for all the reasons you listed. Like, I still think he's talented. Change of scenery might be good for him, but
change of scenery, yes.
I mean, dude, like he had a game this year where he scored minus 0.1 points. Like,
yeah, what?
that's crazy to get on the negative scale. That's what defenses do. Go negative. Yeah, he had some major spike. He had a major spike week in week 15. He had 12 points.
Huge. And he got injured too. So like, not only was he bad, but he was injured too. So it's just so bad all around, man.
Yeah,
brutal
that's just
year.
Burning a second or third round pick on fire.
Like that's a firm DND next year. Like just no way you go back to that.
Next guy here is Deebo Samuel. That is he ruined my Sundays. What's funny is like Deebo clearly had better spike weeks than Travis Etienne, right? Like the first 2 weeks were actually fine, and he injures his rib and then gets pneumonia. So that happens. So I'm starting with the like positive, wave your hands away, like it's a fluke, whatever. But there was a stretch here from, there's a stretch here from week 10 to week 16 where the man is like playing a full complement of snaps, and he can't break like 30 scrimmage yards on like 10 plus totes. And I think what's the most damning part of the Deebo Samuel busting out this year is he had a damn near perfect run out. CMC is basically out the entire year. Ayuk is bad to start the year and then tears his ACL and he's out. The defense isn't very good, which is forcing positive game scripts. And with everything, like that's as pure out as a run as like Brian Thomas got.
Dream.
Yeah, he averaged 10 fantasy points per game on 10 points per game usage. Like that's terrible, man. Like if you had told me that after how much hype he got in the offseason from the coaching staff and the front office and beat reporters from the Niners, about how in shape he was, how good he looked, and then all the things that happened at the beginning of the year, I would have thought you're getting a top 12 season out of the guy. But on a point per game basis, he was the wide receiver 55 going in the third round of drafts. So just a huge bust. Just a huge bust. And I got to send one of those like apology bouquets to Keegan because he did take a lot of Deebo because of me. So I apologize, Keegan.
Yeah, it's all right. He was just too fat for his own good this year.
The worst part is
the BBL jokes.
I did prefer Ayuk to Deebo out of the three of us, and both.
It was neither.
Like it was
Juwan.
It was
Juwan.
It
was
was
Juwan
yeah.
Jennings.
Turns out it's Juwan Jennings and George Kittle. That's it.
Yeah. So that was just honestly just like for the San Francisco offense. But yeah, Deebo being as expensive as he was, wow. Pretty tough.
Look at how injured this team was. They had 9 receivers register routes. Trent Taylor, Jacob Counting, Chris Conley, Ronnie Bell,
Robbie.
And you're telling me that
Robbie,
the
original Sun God.
Say his name.
Goodness.
Say his name.
He technically was better. Ayuk was so bad, 9 points. Oh, but you just get to ring it away, throw it out the trash because he got hurt.
Quick before we move on, do we think Deebo plays another snap? Or I guess he's got week 18. Do we think Deebo returns in 2025?
Early words are he either gets cut, traded, or extended. So I was like, okay, so that's a nothing.
Cool. Okay, cool.
So his contract will not stay the same, it appears.
That makes sense.
Yes. So something will change with his contract. I don't know.
He will be unemployed. Yeah.
I dug into the numbers because I was like, oh, am I ever going to draft Deebo again? And I'm like, yeah, his yards per route run weren't great, but it was like 1.7, which isn't like whatever. He still forced a ton of missed tackles and he had good yak. So it's like the underlying stuff under the hood wasn't as bad as it appeared. And I think you can kind of be like, oh, well, this team's just a nightmare, this and that. And you can try and mulligan away from it. But Deebo is going to be a very, very high risk draft pick moving forward. And I would recommend going all in on him. But, if you're playing best ball and you want to pick up a couple shares, if he lands a new spot, I totally think that's fine.
If he's not attached to Kyle Shanahan, that is like firm no for me. Like 1,000%. Like take him off my big board.
He goes to Miami or something.
Yeah, he might be better in the Arena Football League where you can get a running start off the line.
No, he needs Kyle.
They got rid of those illegal motions. I think that's why Tyreek wasn't as good this year. And these offenses, the Shanahan cheat motion offenses, weren't as good this year because they made it harder to do it, and you keep getting illegal shifts. So it's interesting to see how they'll counter it with some of these.
He's not out of shape. He just needs a little momentum.
He's a little out of shape.
Okay, those are our two biggest busts. Congratulations, Deebo, Travis Etienne. I know you are here. Congratulations, guys. You lost so many people money this year. It's really impressive what you're able to do. Seriously. Good stuff, guys. Okay, so this next award here is the Thank You for Changing My Life award for the waiver wire pickup of the year. We've got 3 guys, all different guys here, so we're kind of across the board. So I'm going to start things off here with my guy that I'm going to pick, and the reason why I'm going first is because I just want to talk about him, and he changed my life. This is an important guy. Like, when my daughter asked me, why is my name Bucky Irving Moran? I'm going to be like, because of this guy. Because of this guy, honey. But Bucky had a magical season, right? And he's basically splitting carries with Rachaad White. He's basically a part-time player for most of the year. But I had some fun Bucky stats that I think is just going to get Aidan a little excited. So I'm just kind of pandering to my audience here. But, okay, so 14 guys rushed for 1,000 yards this season. Bucky was the only one to do it on less than 200 carries. He only needed 108. Bucky had a higher yards per route run than JSN, Tyreek Hill, and Jerry Jeudy. After the bye week in week 12, he averaged 18 fantasy points per game, which is including the Vegas game he played only 10 snaps in. Bucky finished as the RB20 in fantasy points per game on the season, and he only cleared 60% of the snaps in a game once. Only one time he went over 60. Dude's a monster. Is so ridiculously good. And when if he's able to stay healthy or just get more run, Bucky's going to be like one of those guys it's just going to be one of the, I just can't keep I'm just going to keep drafting him, man. Like, he's just going to be one of those guys. So Bucky, I thought, was the clear waiver wire winner of the year. Thank you for changing my life, Bucky. Marquise King, right? What's his name's Marquise. He has like a crazy actual surname, but we're not gonna get too deep into the surnames here.
Yeah,
Marquise King. All right, Keegan, who was your waiver wire pickup of the year? What guy changed your life?
Honestly, he probably changed a lot of people's lives this year, but it's Jonnu Smith. And the reason I picked Jonnu Smith because at a position that I feel like you either stress about, like trying to get an elite guy in the beginning of the year when you're drafting, or you just punt the position completely and you try and play the waiver wire game with tight ends and play matchups. You could have just waiver wired Jonnu Smith, and he would have got you more fantasy points per game than Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Sam Laporta is another one that he was averaging more points per game than Tucker Kraft, who had a good role this year. I mean, he was the 4th highest scoring PPR tight end this year, and you could have just scooped him up on waivers. And I know, like, the point differential between him and Brock Bowers, it's not even that big. Brock Bowers only scored 43 more points than him on the season in total. So it's such a hard position to get. And right now, when we don't have these like Kelce blow up years where he goes for 300 points, the difference between the top tight ends and the really bad ones isn't large. But you could have had the number 4 tight end on the season, just picking him up from waivers. And like, who would have thought that the Dolphins guy that you needed this year was Jonnu Smith, and basically nobody else. Devon Achane and Jonnu Smith. And honestly, we hated on Arthur Smith so much last year for feeding him targets over Kyle Pitts. And honestly, Arthur Smith might have been right. He just might have been right all along.
It's just really easy. Any quarterback can get the ball to Jonnu Smith. It's a 4-yard A-dot. He makes a couple guys. He's just dynamic. And Mike McDaniel knows how to use these guys. And his offensive line was terrible, and Tua is not very good. So it was just checkdowns galore to Jonnu Smith and Devin.
I mean, he
offense.
He had 7 touchdowns this year. He was a little short of 1K, but I mean, 79 receptions, 7 touchdowns, 828 yards. I mean, that's a heck of a year for a guy that you're just scooping up off the waivers. And usually when you're picking up guys off waivers at the tight end position, it's all right, who am I playing next week? Jonnu Smith was just like,
weekly play.
I might just ride this out. And then another week, like, I might ride this out. Another week, like, wow, this is awesome.
That was a classic lunch taking from Jalen Waddle. It was a full-blown heist of lunches that were stolen from John.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
All right, Jonnu Smith, Bucky, Irving are the two. Who's the third one, Aidan? Who's your waiver wire pickup of the year?
So I love Bucky. I think that's the clear winner, but I had to do a different one, and this one is very near and dear to my heart. This is none other than the Moon Man, Darnell Mooney.
Yeah. Okay.
What a year for the Moon Man. It didn't end very well due to Kirk and some injuries. But called the first 10 weeks of the season, Darnell Mooney was a top 20 wide receiver. Just absolutely lighting it up next to Drake London. Kind of just like resurrected his career more or less this year. I think just kind of like proved to a lot of people that he is a pretty damn good wide receiver too. So he's 8 yards shy of 1,000 yards, so he'll eclipse that on Sunday, I'd assume, barring I'd assume he's playing. I haven't heard anything otherwise, but currently the wide receiver 27. So this was a guy that was wide receiver 68 going into your drafts this year. You might have drafted him. That's kind of like, right around like 170, 180. So depending if you're in like a 12 team, there's a chance that the Moon Man found his way onto rosters. But if not, you got a ton of value out of Mooney. He was a pretty comfy wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 play for this season. So shout out to him. Excited to see what he does next year alongside Drake London with Michael Penix. I think that offense is going to be a ton of fun to watch with a QB that can actually move laterally, make things happen with his legs a little bit.
I think it's cool that you called out Saquon and Moonman at different awards because they basically got the same contract. Saquon got Darnell Mooney money.
It was just so ridiculous.
No, but the Moonman had a good
ridiculous.
year. He for sure had a good year. When that offense actually looked like it had a real chance to high volume, high passing offense. Kirk Cousins immobile, but he's throwing it around a bit. He actually was playing really well. That offense just kind of, as you said, the wheels kind of fell off.
So
that was kind of a bummer.
Bucky's the clear guy here, though, in my opinion. Especially just like what he was doing down the stretch was just fucking ridiculous. And we also saw this one coming, though. Like
we did.
Us three as a whole. Like Rachaad White is so inefficient, especially as a rusher.
Hey now.
And Bucky Irving was pretty electric at Oregon. So this one, made sense. It was more just a matter of when, not if. So shout out to these three.
All right. Big round of applause. Bucky, Jonnu, Darnell, get in here. Get in here, guys.
Come grab your award, guys.
Come here. Yeah.
Quick.
Oh, that's them. Get in here. It's a big deal. Big deal here to get featured on this show. All right. So the next award here, we'll do this one quickly. And they're both on my prized fantasy team. Both of these guys were on our big buddy league we all play in that I'm dying to win, that I can't win for some reason. Both of them were. This is the Sarah McLachlan in the Arms of an Angel award for the player that got hurt too early in the year. If you're not familiar with that tune, it's the the Dead Dog song or the Shelter songs. Aidan, can you sing it for us real quick?
In the arms of the angel.
There we go.
That's the one.
So that song's playing, and that's what I had to go through when I dropped Rashee Rice from my fantasy rosters. Like that's playing in my head as I dropped him off the squad. Rashee Rice, the first 3 weeks of the year, man, we're gonna talk about that for the end of time. Before Patrick Mahomes inexplicably tore his ACL.
Stop.
Before he straight up tore his ACL. Yeah.
No, Patrick did that.
Just blew his knee out. I mean, that's just what happened. Before that happened, Rashee Rice was averaging 21 fantasy points per game on a 31% target share, 36% targets per route run, a 3.6 yards per route run, and a 40% first read target share. Among all wide receivers with 25 routes, Rashee Rice led the league in first down per route run and finished second in yards per route run. I know it's like a limited sample size, but essentially he was Puka. Like Puka, what he did at the end of the year this year, they had very similar underlying usage. If Rice stays healthy, he wins leagues. He has like a Travis Kelce type year. That's what would happen. So
yeah, I probably don't get last place in my league if Rashee Rice doesn't die. But who's counting?
Yeah, I kind of went all in. Had him in 5 leagues, so that was a tough one. I will say though, I'm not a big spiritual person or a big karma person, but did seem kind of fitting that I went all in on a guy who could have killed a lot of people in a reckless driving accident, and he then ended his
Burned
season and then ended mine. So that has me questioning the existential void a little bit more. We'll talk about that on our next episode of the Regression Me podcast. But Keegan, you had Rashee Rice as well, right?
Yeah, just because I spent all offseason saying no, no, no. Like, why won't they suspend him? Why not this? Like, how could you be thinking this? I just also didn't. I'm just not a fan of the game that he plays within the Chiefs offense. And what did I do? I drafted him anyways on maybe one of my most promising rosters. And yeah, he gets hurt. And it's like, I told myself I wasn't going to do this. I don't get enjoyment out of watching him football. And I did it anyways. And then when he got hurt, I found myself missing Rashee Rice when I never wanted to draft him in the first place. It was like the worst injury that could have happened because I didn't want him there in the first place. And I easily could have drafted anybody else. And I did it. I still did it. And yeah, it absolutely tanked that season.
He went off. Miserable. He went off in that first month, man.
Well, yeah, in the first month, I mean, you have it pulled up. I mean, 12 receptions on 14 targets, over 100 yards and a touchdown. And you're just like, oh my God.
Special.
I was just like sitting there like, Shaun was right. Like,
I can't believe I got him in the 5th. I was sitting here like, the 5th round? What? Oh, man.
And then when he got hurt, I just remembered all the reasons I didn't want to draft him in the first place. Mind you, none of those would have been applicable if he played 17 games, but I just got mad all over again.
Wait,
now we're going to do the same thing again next year, though.
I'm in. You don't have to twist my arm.
If we don't get the suspension news before the season again, I'm going to lose my shit. I'm going to lose my shit. So
I'll say now, I'm firmly out.
I'm out for now, but I need to see what Goodell says.
Okay, I was wrong. So torn LCL and hamstring, ACL, meniscus were fine. I'm back in.
I just want to go back a couple minutes. And when I say a couple, I mean 10 minutes. Because at the beginning, Shaun got to this award and he was like, we'll go through this one quickly. And then he saw Rashee Rice's name. And now we've just been waxing poetic about Rashee
I'll
Rice.
do mine fast. I'll do mine fast. So this is the other one that makes a ton of sense. Chris Godwin was well on his way to another monster season, was averaging just under 20 points per game. It was probably going to be a top 5 or top 10 wide receiver. The one that hurt most about this was Tampa Bay was so out of this game already. I think there was 40 seconds left. And
he had no business being out
just
there.
Gets hip drop tackled and just obliterates his ankle in a game he never should have been. And those should have been Trey Palmer minutes. There was no reason for him to still be in that football game. Dislocates it. I forget. I'm sure there was some ligament damage. But dude, just a brutal injury for a guy that finished 2023 really strong and was poised to have an absolute monster season. So pour one out for Chris Godwin. He at least lasted a couple weeks longer than our guy, Mr. Rice. He made it to week 7, so he logged you 4 more games. But boy, if you lost Chris Godwin, there was a hole in your roster that no waiver wire player could replace, unfortunately.
What if you drop both of them?
Then you probably didn't do very well, yeah.
I got bounced by Keegan in the offs. That's what happened to me. We did not go through that one quickly. But congratulations to Rashee Rice and Chris Godwin. We loved you guys. Thank you for the memories. Smile because it happened, right? Is that the saying?
Yeah.
Sure.
Is that what to say? The next award that we have here, this is the I can't believe I didn't draft this guy award for the best late round pick. We've all been there. Somebody in the 12th round, you're seeing him go off, and week 12, you're like, I could have had that guy for free, and I just didn't draft him. I'm going to start things off here with Baker Mayfield. I think Baker Mayfield's season that he had was ridiculous. I did not see it coming. I think we're all big fans of Baker Mayfield here on this podcast, but for him to go out there and throw for 4,200 yards and 40 touchdowns is pretty insane, especially coming off the fact that he has a new offensive coordinator. I think this was a cool stat. Baker scored less than 18 fantasy points in only 3 games this entire season. He had more games clearing 28 fantasy points, 6, than Patrick Mahomes had clearing 20 points, which was only 4. Pretty insane season for Baker Mayfield. He was basically undrafted. He was a waiver wire guy. Maybe took him at the end of the draft, but Big shout out to Baker Mayfield, who should have been a Pro Bowler. I know he wasn't, but
that's a snub. He had better stats than Jayden, but still awesome year for Baker. So
all right, that's Baker Mayfield. That's my guy. I wanted to highlight. Keegan, who do you have as the guy that you're just like, I can't believe I didn't draft this guy?
Yeah, I mean, Chase Brown is like the quintessential Keegan Thompson fantasy football pick, like 0 RB through and through, late round guy. Absorbed the entire backfield with Joe Mixon being gone, and like I had my hater goggles on. I thought the limited snaps from 2023 and like the explosive plays late in games on broken plays were Fugazi, and he was drafted in like the hundreds. Basically, his preseason ADP was 108, around the likes of like Harrison Butker and Cortland Sutton and Jerome Ford. And I was drafting a lot of Jerome Ford instead. And Chase Brown ended up being RB6 on the year in PPR. So, yeah, that was a pretty swift kick in the nuts to go against everything I believe in 0 RB, and then just put on my hater goggles a little too strong there.
Brutal. You were a big hater. I don't know.
Not even little, just like big. Yeah.
You were just outright like, he's not good. I was like, oh, okay. Aidan and I were like, all right, man. I'm down for either. That was Aidan and I's position. Like, take them both. See what happens.
Yeah, I was drafting both. I had a Moss and Chase Brown team. I had just one with Brown, just one with Moss. I was diverse.
I was a Zach Moss believer for sure, and that was wrong.
It looked okay early, but yeah, no, this was a great one. Yeah, it's a good shout.
Who do you got here, Aidan? I think you have a collection of dudes.
I'm gonna do a quick triple dipper for my Chili's enthusiasts. We're doing a quick triple dipper here. I'm doing the rookies. So Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, and BTJ. What absolute beast. I kind of went light on rookies this year, and it feels like it kind of kicked me in the face. Yeah, man, fuck, dude, Worthy too. Neighbors was early, so he's not on this list. But yeah, man, BTJ was being drafted as wide receiver 48 and is wide receiver 4 going into week 18. Ladd was wide receiver 44, finished as wide receiver 12. And Brock Bowers, as we know, is like close to having like the best tight end season ever. It's tight end 11, gonna finish just tight end 1 in his rookie campaign. So yeah, kind of kicking myself for not touching the rookies, as these guys are exceptional.
Pause.
And the price. No, not like that though, guys. No, guys. Yeah.
Look what Daddy did.
I got AO'd.
Yeah, dude, you're right. This is a generational offensive class. It's like, ridiculous, the talent fusion.
I think we're going to see at least. I guess we see 2 of them in the first round next year. I don't know. Out of the rookies from this year, I don't know who. Like probably Neighbors, BTJ. I don't know, but yeah, the price is going to be a lot more expensive. So wishing I got them. It doesn't feel like this incoming wide receiver class is quite as robust. So
no, it's for sure not. It's a running back class. That's where you get for this class.
So, but
with Bowers in particular, I took a ton of them in best ball. I was like, I love Brock Bowers in best ball, but for some reason in redraft, I was like, I don't need it.
I just thought the Raiders were going to be so bad, which they were, but I did not think he would be able to survive all 3 of the quarterbacks in Vegas.
Yeah, not just 1, not just 2 bad quarterbacks. 3 bad
he was
quarterbacks.
Lighting it up with Michael Penix. I'm like, this guy is so QB proof. Wait till he gets an average QB. It's going to be awesome. So shout out the rookie guys.
Yeah, the pass rate was way up, and they just, like, honestly, say what you will about Scott Turner, the OC that they brought in, but that guy was getting his guys going. I mean, boss. But yeah, he was getting his guys going, and we're touching the rookies, so that's where we're at. But yeah, all these guys, man, draft them
touched all 3 of them.
Draft them all. All right, the next. Oh no, we got to say congratulations. My bad. Congratulations to like 9 guys. None of them made it. But congratulations, guys. Okay, so the next award that we have here, this is the Someone Cooked Here Award for Best Fantasy Performance. We got 2 guys here. I think it's pretty easy who they are. We got Jamarr Chase. Aidan, did you get dunked on in this game? Did you go up against Jamarr when this happened?
Yeah, definitely.
I got double Jamar Chase. Hugh and Shane. Shout out to our buddies Hugh and Shane. They doubled me with Jamarr Chase. That was fun.
Yeah, dude.
Great
And
game.
I think the funniest part is like, so we're referring to week 10 because you're probably like, which one? There were multiple weeks where Jamar just went absolutely ape shit. But we're talking about week 10. He caught 11 of 17 targets, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, 55 points. What is so fucking crazy is look at like what he did in week 5. It was barely better. He was averaging like 50 points against the Ravens this year. It was just absolutely insanity. But no, that 55 spot I think was like top 5 all time for a weekly score at the wide receiver position. I'd have to double check exactly what that was, but pretty nuts.
We had a guy in our league, in our home league, who had the Burrow Chase handcuff, 80 points at the gates. It was on Thursday Night Football too.
Like
which made
the game's out. Like you're dead.
See ya.
It's already over. See you next week. Yeah.
Hope you had a fun week.
Yeah.
The second best performance, Josh Allen's week 14 against the Rams. He became the first player in NFL history to have 3 rushing and 3 passing touchdowns in the same game. He went for 300 through the air, 82 on the ground. I think it's the highest non-PPR game of all time, 51.88. I believe if you're not counting receptions, it is the most points ever scored in a game for a quarterback or any position.
Just insane.
And he did it when you needed it the most.
He did. Week 14 to get
and then
into
look
the
what he
playoffs.
did right after that. When you also needed it the most.
And then week 16, he kind of lays it down.
Whatever.
Well, I was just looking at week 15. All right.
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm Josh Allen. I scored 90 points in 2 weeks. I'm married to Haley. Yeah, whatever.
I have a rocket arm, and I'm dating a rocket.
Fuck you.
What an asshole.
Yeah, Josh Allen's pretty cool. I think we can all agree. Shout out to Josh Allen. I actually survived the Josh Allen, this 50 bomb.
I wanted to get a t-shirt because I survived the Jamar Chase 55 burger. And I wanted to get a t-shirt that says I survived.
Marking yourself safe.
Congratulations, you two. You did it. Well done, Josh, Jamar. You popular guys here.
One.
You're popular guys here.
One always.
So the next award here, this is the Prison Mike Award for the guy who deserves a lifetime sentence in fantasy jail. So back in the old days when Keegan and I started this, we were audio only. And we weren't optimizing our program for the YouTube algorithm to grow. We used to just do these really weird award segments weekly, and they were really unhinged. There are probably some rants I need to delete off the internet now that I think about it. But we used to just go in about throwing guys in fantasy jail and making office references.
We were just basically just being mean, just like getting hatred off of our chest.
Yeah, it was just straight up bullying. So with that being said, Keegan, I'm gonna let you kick things off here. This is your guy you're gonna send to fantasy jail, and I'm now seeing who it is. Who you send to fantasy jail for a lifetime sentence?
Yeah, this is a bit personal. I'll be the first to admit it. Yeah, it's personal, but it's Aaron Rodgers.
Send him to hell. Yeah, let's do it.
And to be honest, as bad as this season was, and this is what's so sad about being a Jets fan, as bad as the season was, it's still going to be somewhere in like the top 5 all-time Jets quarterback seasons, just statistically, EPA, however way you want to look at it, slice it, dice it. It was a good Jets season by all standards. But what this man did to the Jets organization, when I thought that there was maybe a glimmer of hope for our future, the young players that we were building around, he has dismantled them from the inside. I am now starting to buy into the conspiracy that he was a ploy. You know, he was sent directly to the Jets to continue to dismantle them, tear them apart, and never allow them to complete a rebuild. I mean, we've got Garrett Wilson probably wanting out if they bring Aaron Rodgers back. And it wasn't that he held them back from big fantasy performances. Devontae had a great end of the year, but it's how he went about it. I mean, Devontae had a great end of the year because he was force-feeding targets to his best friend. Garrett Wilson's running wide open in the middle of the field, not getting a look. I mean, Aaron Rodgers can't throw from a clean pocket. This is one of the best offensive lines I've seen in my life. And the guy couldn't throw from a clean pocket. He's getting mad at wide receivers for not being where he expects them to be, even though it was all his fault. Guy completely ruined everything about our run game. I mean, he was a menace.
He did.
Got Robert Saleh fired. I mean, Brees's season sucked, and it's all Aaron Rodgers' fault. It's all his fault.
He's also truly a scapegoat, but I do think he's like legit a terrorist for what he did this year.
He's such a piece of shit, and then he's just on the Pat McAfee show, just taking zero accountability. He is king piece of shit. Like the worst human being in the
The
NFL.
worst thing he said was in the beginning of the season. I forgot when it was. It might have been week 2. And he's like, now, you have to learn how to like carry this excellence or something along those lines, basically saying like, now you have to learn how to like play like a winner consistently. I'm like, they ruined our season. They didn't play like winners after that once. The guy was horrible this year.
Yeah, he sucks.
And I'll have to look back on the Jets logs of quarterback seasons, and he'll be there somewhere near the top.
Garrett Wilson wanting out only if he comes back is
the smartest thing he's ever said.
I don't blame him one bit.
We're going to look at this and be like, Garrett Wilson's had an amazing... This is one of the more impressive things I've ever seen.
It's incredible.
This is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen.
When you think about the shit that he's been through, the quarterbacks he's played with, dude, Chris Streveler was playing meaningful snaps for the Jets down the line at the end of the year.
He'd be so good with a good QB, man. So fucking good.
Oh my God.
This is crazy. 3 years of over a K, like with the quarterbacks he's played with, man. That's nuts. He had a good year. He could have been he could be a wide receiver 1 type. I really do think he could be unbelievable in the right situation.
Yeah, they just need to kill Aaron Rodgers.
I'll help. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna help.
There he is. Retire. He means retire.
Oh, there. Wow, dude. You have it up on the tab. All right. No, we can't be talking.
That got Keegan. That got.
Oh.
We're not gonna kill Aaron Rodgers. We're not gonna kill him.
I was not expecting that. I was thinking, how is he going to be able to pull up like a sleeper page for Aidan's person that he wants to send to jail?
It is unbelievable. So it's Shane fraud, and so this goes 2 ways. This is dual pronged. We're sent to jail for 2 ways. First of all, his usage of JSN during his rookie season was inexplicable. Absolutely inexplicable. JSN, who also got snubbed in the Pro Bowl too, actually. What a fucking monster this guy is. And he was having him run just like bubble screens behind the line of scrimmage, low A-dot, absolute nonsense. And then it comes to Chicago and is just running like the most bullshit offensive scheme I've ever seen. So I'd be shocked if he ever gets another offensive coordinator job in the NFL. Seems like they kind of hated him in Seattle, but that's just classic Chicago to hire an OC that they didn't want there anyways. So seems like the stink on him is pretty strong at this point. So Shane Waldron, enjoy a nice cold prison cell.
Yeah, he was the worst.
Absolute worst.
The Cole Kmet stuff was wild. I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, like the force feeding us Gerald Everett for no apparent reason.
Everything, dude. Like we were getting Travis Homer snaps and stuff. I was like, this is insane. So yeah, bad man. But let's keep the bias rolling. Shaun, take us home on our third our third guy here.
I'm a little bummed. I'm trying to click on this photo because he looks so terrible in it, but it makes me want. I get paywalled, and I'm like, I really want to look at this photo of Kyle because he looks terrible. But yeah, it's Kyle Shanahan, man. He ruined my year. Just ruined my fantasy football season. The guy, the way that he did the whole CMC thing was just complete and utter nonsense. They knew it was a major injury. They were definitely concerned about it. They had very, very big reservations about playing him immediately. And they just kept it from us. And like they don't have to report injury information in the offseason. It's very clear. They don't have to be up to date on it until the first practice reports come out. But, I was bamboozled. I was led astray. And I just felt like there was no reason to do that. There's no reason to hide the CMC injury. Like
he was hiding all sorts of injuries. He was hiding Fred Warner. No, dude, he is. And then he sits there with that like smug little smile at the podium. Like, what? It's like, dude.
Yeah, he gets defensive
Kyle.
And
no.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. Like, and he had game plans where you come in and like, hey, why don't we just get Kittle the ball in every play? And he's just like force feed Deebo, who can't do anything. So it's just like, I get it. He's a great play caller. He's had a great career so far. I as a Niner fan, hand to God, don't fire Kyle Shanahan. I don't want keep him, please. But he's just going to fantasy jail for this year. He had a magnificent year the year prior. He unlocked so many league winning teams because of how great all of his players were across leagues. But man, he was terrible. He laid an egg. He looked like he wanted to go to Cabo in week 3. And I bet on him. I bet on the Niners, and Deebo killed me, and the CMC thing killed me. So I'm sending you to jail, Kyle. Straight to jail right away. I'm over it, man.
Yep.
Okay, that's fun. So why don't we get the 3 of them in here? Shane Waldron, Kyle Shanahan, Aaron Rodgers. That is a nightmare.
Yeah, nightmare blunt rotation.
That is a
sure.
nightmare blunt rotation. I was thinking the same thing. All right, man.
I'm going to go comment that next time Aaron Rodgers posts something with Devontae Adams. I'm just going to comment that under.
Nightmare blood rotation.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams had a good year, actually. All things considered.
Yeah, at the expense of other Jets players. But
yeah, winning.
Yeah.
But hey, he had to be on the field to catch the TD 500.
It had to be.
That was crazy.
Of course.
Man. Okay, so Milk was a bad choice. I'm sharing the wrong tab. Okay, so Milk was a bad choice. The next award is for the worst offseason take here on the Regression podcast. Yeah, man, I had the worst one. I said don't draft Saquon Barkley. That was my take. We talk a lot about the mid-curve meme on this show, where oftentimes the dumbest and smartest people they do the same thing. And I think what exemplifies the mid-curve meme is that our buddy Andrew, who's a very smart guy, but in fantasy football doesn't care. Like, he's the most like, just draft the guys he knows and he moves on. He drafted Saquon, right? And then on the other end of the bell curve, Aidan, very smart guy, drafts Saquon, right? So the smart guy, the guy who doesn't even care about fantasy and he's playing, they're drafting Saquon. And then you have me in the middle of the bell curve being like,
the guy making custom projections and weekly rankings.
My algorithm, what's the upside? Like, it just like, come on, man. Like, the guy was really good on the worst team ever. And all of a sudden he's now on a great offense with a great O-line with great receivers. What do we think's going to happen?
Saquon go burr.
Saquon went off, man. So Saquon Barkley, I had a bad take, and I owned it, and I owned it right away. But instead of having the bad take, I would have loved to just have him instead.
Next year. Yep. There's next year. You just got to use a top 3 pick.
Now it's scary. Now it's scary. Yeah.
Now I'm like, is he going to CMC me? You know, like that's the fear, because he's a running back and he's getting a little bit older. But, you know, whatever. That's part of the risk. But that's one I got to own. Keegan, this one, you were pretty big on him. This went in the other way type of take, but why was Milk was a bad choice with Jaylen Waddle.
Yeah, this one, you know, part of the problem here is Tua missed some time because he loves to tackle with his head. I'm not sure why. I don't know why that's still part of his skill set, but he needs to get that out of his tool belt. But yeah, Jaylen Waddle was, you know, a favorite pick of mine in like the 3rd, early 4th. I was drafting, I think, in the 3rd for most of my drafts, and I ended up with a lot of Waddle. 14 games played this year. My biggest thing was like, if he plays, you know, more than 10 games, he's gonna have a great year. He had one single top 15 PPR finish across 14 games played, and an offense that was supposed to elevate and be super electric for all of their playmakers. He ended the year as the PPR wide receiver 51 and was just non-existent at the end of the season. I mean, I wasn't even playing in my lineups at that point. You couldn't. But, I mean, top 20 wide receiver returning that value was horrible for me, for anybody who drafted Jaylen Waddle. And it was just a huge blow. I like, when you go all in on a player, like you went all in on Rashee Rice, like I went all in on Jaylen Waddle this year. And part of it was Tua, but I think good players like in good systems can elevate themselves. I mean, we saw what Brian Thomas did with Mac Jones, but that offense and Dolphins land down there in Miami is a big no-no for me, because if Tua can't stay healthy, nobody else can run the offense. There's only one person who can actually effectively run the offense. And yeah, it was a big miss for me, and it hurt.
I mean, I feel like this is kind of an anomaly. I mean, like, he had 3 really good years. This year, you might throw it out. You buy the dip.
Dip.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
He's going to be 26, 27 next year. We need to stop dying on the field, though, and I can't guarantee that's gonna happen, which is hard.
Or hear me out. What if the Dolphins got an offensive line capable of doing anything? What if that occurred?
Probably need that too.
Their O-line, dude.
We need both of those.
There were signs. I mean, there were signs. I already knew that Tua had scrambled brain history, and I knew the offensive line wasn't going to be great, but the way they set their offense up with Tua, it works. You throw to spots, you throw it fast, you get your guys the ball that have speed, and you let them cook. But that didn't even happen.
Again, all the Shanahan guys got blasted because they took away the cheat motion things. I don't. We'll see how they work through this next year. I think I'm buying the dip on Waddle. Like, he's going to be like a 6th round, 7th round guy next year.
He burned me. Like this year burned me so bad. Like,
that's a rough burn. It's a rough
one.
It's a rough one. There's no denying it. I'd rather, I don't know, what hurts more, fading a guy that goes off or going all in on a guy that kills you?
The latter.
Yeah, I think so.
Because at least like it's just missing points, whereas the other is like capital down the drain. So Kyren, as someone
as the once famed Aidan Holler would have called him, Kyren.
And the worst part is, like, I'm gonna do it again next year. I'm 1,000% gonna do it again because, like, the whole premise of my take still stands, but he escaped it. So I faded Kyren because he lacks efficiency and is a volume machine, but he absolutely hit at his ADP. He was running back 7 going as of right now. He's exactly where he was drafted and did not miss a single game. The biggest, I think, knock on him was huge durability issues. Played all 17 games. I think he has dirt on Sean McVay. Like, I know he has dirt on Sean McVay. The guy puts the ball on the ground, is grossly inefficient, but, like, dude, just punches it in from the 1 and 2 yard line repeatedly. Gets 20 plus touches a game.
Sheesh, 5 fumbles this year and lost 3 of them.
Yeah, and like I was looking at, like, in terms of guys who had over 100 carries, he ranked 30 out of 41 with yards per carry. Like, my basis still stands. Like, this is not an efficient runner. Like, he's a good football player, but, like, would never hit home on like 10 or 12 touches. Like, he needs 20 plus touches to be Kyren Williams, and he needs to be in Sean McVay's offense too, because I don't think a lot of other OCs would kind of stand for this. So I'm going to do it again next year, but I was wrong this year. So I'll be back for more next year because Blake Corum needs to play. There were games where he played more where I think Kyren actually looked better. So we'll see. Blake Corum needs to play, and I do think his injuries are still looming.
Kyren was unbelievable 2 years ago. He rushed for 1,100 yards in 12 games, like in 12 touchdowns. Like, he averaged 5 yards per carry versus 4. I do think the Rams offense was better last year. But I think it's a fair fade. He's a small 4th, 5th round running back who has a guy literally sitting behind him who looked good. It's like it's a good directional fade, but I think Kyren's just a good football player.
Yeah,
but he's risky.
I'm gonna do it again though. No regrets. Like, there were plenty of other good players that were taken around there that worked. So
yeah, it didn't kill
okay
you
with
if
it.
You didn't take Kyren this
year. No.
All right, Kyren, Jaylen, Saquon. Congratulations, guys. We were all humiliatingly wrong about you going into this year. We have, I think, 2 more awards left. Just shouting out the 2 rookies of the year. I think you guys had Brian Thomas as your automatic rookie of the year.
Big time.
Keegan, you want to poetically wax because this was a big bet for you. And you hit home, BTJ.
Yeah, it paid off. I took him in Dynasty this year. I took him in 3 redraft leagues this year. I mean, how do you not love the guy that comes out of LSU with 14 touchdowns at 6'3", 220 pounds, runs 4.3. I mean, the signs were there. And it was the most free money in round 10 and above, like, was where he was getting drafted. His ADP is, his ADP was after Chase Brown going into the season, I mean, and of course there are some caveats. Their entire wide receiver corps died throughout the year, but even with that, he still had to play with Mac Jones a huge part of the season. And when it mattered most in fantasy, he was still delivering on that. You watch the tape and the guy just gets open. He's addicted to getting open in the field. I mean, it's impossible not to like the guy, the way he plays football. I'm expecting like a huge breakup from him. I've already seen people, projecting to be a top draft pick. And thank goodness we have keepers in the league that I drafted him, because I will be keeping him in the 6th round and not have to worry about taking him in the 1st round, because that's a little scary. But I mean, the guy was a monster this year. I mean, you look at those point totals at the end of the season, all of his fantasy playoff games are above 20 points. I mean, dropping 30 burgers in week 1 of playoffs. The guy was unbelievable. And that was all with Mac Jones. Talent wins no matter what. Like, you can defy the odds if you're as talented as Brian Thomas Jr. That might have been one of my best hits this year, preseason. It really might have.
You were in. I also do think that Mac Jones proved to us he can throw the ball to somebody. Like, you know, if worst comes to worst, he can get some points from our receivers.
Better than Trevor, dude.
Don't forget, Mac Jones was voted the 98th best player in the league after his rookie year. He was on the NFL's top 100 players list. Don't forget.
That was really fun.
He's nowhere near as talented as Sam Darnold, but I would not be shocked if Mac Jones started quarterback for a team in like the next year or two. Like, he's like, that's just our guy we're rolling with.
That would suck for them.
He's going to end up in Florham Park, isn't he?
Well, the joke is he's going to end up on the Niners, but you know, that's
that would be full circle.
That'd be fun.
We don't want to complete that one. I don't, at least. The other fantasy MVP that's a rookie that I wanted to call out. Kind of a shame Brock Bowers didn't get a mention, or Ladd or Worthy, but you know, I had to go with Jayden Daniels. And I did some sleuthing here on Daniels. Because we talked about the rib injury, and it did impact his overall season. So I did the splits, guys. These splits are crazy. So weeks 1 through 6, he averages 22 fantasy points per game, QB4. Hurts his ribs week 7 against the Panthers. Weeks 8 through 11, clearly going through something with his ribs. He averages 16.3 fantasy points per game, QB22. Looks healthier week 12, starts running again. So week 12 through 17, he averages 31 fantasy points per game, QB2. If you remove the middle of the season, he averaged 26 fantasy points per game and was the QB1. That kind of production from a rookie is kind of nuts. Playing with a bad O-line, one truly good receiver, and his running back's like always hurt. And it's like a ninth round pick. He's just stealing. So I've got him in a keeper league. I'm keeping him. He's my guy.
You're probably right that maybe we should have at least shouted out Brock Bowers. I obviously just had to put BTJ in there because I feel like that was just a personal take. But Brock Bowers did have an amazing season at a very specific position too, a tight end.
He had a historic season.
Yeah, historic. Like not just historic fantasy, but like NFL historic season. Which is pretty crazy. So
he's going to get the Kelsey draft treatment in fantasy leagues, and I think it's 100% warranted. This is a guy that at a onesie position gives you such a clear advantage versus your other options that it's worth, that first or second draft.
The hard thing is, though, people forget that Travis Kelce was getting that treatment because he wasn't just scoring 40 more points than the next best tight end. He was clearing them by like 100.
Like 100.
Like that was such a crazy run at the tight end position. I still haven't seen anybody do that yet.
Bowers had a great year. He's going to have to score more touchdowns.
And I think he will, though. Like he's going to get better QB play.
He got outscored on a point per game basis by George Kittle, and then he's basically on par with Trey McBride.
Kelsey was clearing 300, man.
Dude, I know. When you go back and think about those seasons at tight end, and it's like, yeah, he was being drafted in the first round, and he totally deserved it.
Dude, this 2020 season, Travis Kelce had 312. Darren Waller had 278. No one else had more than 176. That is a disgusting.
No, the tight end
that's
position,
when it was different.
Tight end position was kind of good this year. Like
that's when we abolished tight end in a lot of leagues because I had enough after that. Yeah,
it was pretty flat. But you had Kittle, Bowers, McBride, Njoku was good again. Johnny Smith was good. Kelsey was kind of a bust, but he was what it was. And then Mark Andrews had a good second half of the year. So if you picked up Mark Andrews off waivers,
it was a decent tight end year actually.
Yeah, wasn't bad. Wasn't bad at all. Okay, so last pick
for Kate Otten. Come on.
Cotton? He had a generation run in the middle of the year. Okay, so this is my favorite one to do. This is our guy that we're going to be drafting no matter what next year. Is giving you a preview to our bias and our bags for the upcoming offseason. Let's start things off here with Keegan. Keegan, who is the guy you're going to be drafting no matter? Oh, wait, we didn't get any applause. Jayden, sorry, guys. Jayden, BTJ. Congratulations, rookie of the year. Okay, who are you drafting no matter what, Keegan?
Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors, no matter what.
One guy.
No matter the cost.
One guy.
I'll just say BTJ for now. I bet that will change. But
Oh, okay. Set it in stone, baby. You heard it here
I
first.
might buy. I legit might buy a BTJ like the retro Jags jersey. That 7 is just so cold.
Become a Jags fan. Ben Johnson's the head coach.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
was it
Ben
not
Johnson next year. Trevor Lawrence healthy. Brian Thomas might go for 1,800 next year.
Didn't Leftwich wear 7?
Yes.
No. Yeah, it was right. I think.
Or was it Garrard? No, Garrard wore 5.
Or was it David? Yeah, Leftwich in that 7. God, man, those jerseys are so fucking cool.
And
But
they
yeah,
had those weird.
I will be doing
Bortles
it no matter
jerseys.
the cost next year. I'm happy to get burned if it is the first round. It feels steep. I don't want to see him going in the first round.
He's
Not
going
in home leagues. He's not going in home leagues. He's not going in the first round.
He might.
But I will be drafting him everywhere again.
Does he score 10 TDs? No, we're not doing this. I'm not doing this. We're not poking holes in anyone. This
10
is the fun
TDs?
part.
No, he's going to get 15
This is the
next
fun
year.
part. This is the fun part. I was looking at my notes for BTJ, and I comped him because I was looking through old stuff. I comped him to Christian Watson and Nico Collins. So I was like, he's somewhere in the middle there. So
You were
He's
technically-
above Nico.
No. All right, no. Oh, we got to move on because
he might be. He might
no,
be.
stop both of you. Knock
The
that off.
stink of Bobby Slowick. Bobby Slowick is an honorable mention for fantasy jail too.
Yeah, I cannot believe we didn't say Bobby Slowick. Oh my gosh.
The other 3 were well more deserving, but yeah, Bobby.
Well,
CJ.
Bobby Slowick actually ruined fantasy years for
Yes.
some really good fantasy pieces with both Nico, Tank obviously recovering, but
CJ was so
CJ
bad
had a
this year.
horrible year. I mean, Aaron
Nico
Rodgers
just
actually
hurt
had-
his hamstring, bro.
Yeah, he did. Nico was amazing this year. Yeah,
Nico
you're
was
right.
Nico was fucking awesome.
He was really the only, not Nico Bolden, who said
Yeah, Nico averaged like close to 20 a game, didn't he?
oh, we got to get Nico over 1,000. I want to see 1,000 in the column in 12
Dang.
games.
Some of y'all's team's wide receivers don't have a 1K streak.
Look at this.
Can't imagine.
This killed me too. I had Rice and him go down on and Deebo just become fat all in one team in this pocket of the season right here.
Oh my god! All right, before I know we're in the middle of this award, but speaking of fantasy jail, we didn't even talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. once on this episode.
Oh well,
No,
And
us
he was
drafted
flat out the worst first round pick.
None of us
Without a
drafted
doubt.
him.
he
I didn't
wasn't a
draft him.
first rounder. He wasn't a first.
Yes, he was. He was the turn.
In best ball. In best ball, he was.
He was
yeah,
fine. He
will
wasn't as
not be
bad
being
as people.
featured in my no matter what.
We had a week 1 overreactions pod, and I said Marvin Harrison Jr. will be the worst first, second.
He's going to finish with almost 1,000 yards. Like that's
It
not
wasn't
bad.
that bad of a rookie year. It wasn't that bad of a rookie year.
But
It
where
just
you
was-
drafted him.
wide receiver 34. He was being drafted at the turn.
Putting up a Jerry Jeudy season is tough. It's tough for a guy going that early. We'll
Nepo
talk
baby
more about-
pick.
Yeah,
We'll
I
talk
didn't
more
wanna
about
think about
Maserati.
more. I didn't
We'll
want to think
talk about it
him.
more.
He'll be a good lessons learned guy. Sorry to interrupt. I just
Yeah,
got
we'll talk-
furious
yes.
thinking about it.
I'm actually that's a good idea. We'll put a bookmark in this. All right,
Put a
Aidan, who's the
bookmark
guy
on.
going to be drafting no matter what?
This is a guy that I actually didn't own, but that I was gushing over in the summer, and then I'm going to be doing
Pause.
it again. Gushing, yeah, you heard that right.
Gushing over.
It's
What about on?
spicy Bijan mustard. The star running back out of Atlanta. What a fucking beast, dude. I don't even think we've seen the best of Bijan yet, but this guy is such a stud. Currently sitting as the running back 3 right now. I said he was a dark horse to be running back 1. I didn't account for Saquon going for 2,000 yards. So he's 6 points behind Gibbs and 60 behind Saquon. But what an absolute maniac, dude. 1,700 total yards, 13 touchdowns. This offense kind of sucked for a while, and I just felt like the only thing that was even churning was Bijan Robinson once Kirk went full potato mode. So man, I'm excited to draft him next year. He's not going to make it out of the top 4, in my opinion. I think him, Saquon,
No.
Jamarr, and Jettas are by far and away the top 4 players in fantasy football
Gibbs.
going
Gibbs
into.
too.
It's just Montgomery, man. He's still there.
Eventually, they're gonna phase that old guy out. He keeps
I don't
getting
think
hurt.
so.
He's old.
I don't think so.
Dude, let's not speak ill of Monty while he's recovering.
That's another one, though. No, that's another one. We're not going to get too into that one. But yeah, Bijan Robinson, what an absolute rock star, dude. monster season. He's still 22 years old, dude. We have not seen Bijan Robinson's prime yet. I think 1,700 yards being like a potential sign of things to come is like so special. Man,
imagine if he got even a shred of space. Like if they just could get any verticality going with their passing game, with their quarterback being any threat, it would
like
be
some more, like
amazing.
Once they stop just trying to jam him between the tackles too, like kind of getting him outside. Oh, dude, I get excited just thinking about watching Bijan run. Like, oh man, it makes me tingle.
It's amazing what he can do in between the tackles too, though. Like like the first 5 weeks of the year were pretty ass. Like I had him in our big league, and
it was slow. Yeah,
it was slow. And then he ripped off 25, 23, 23, 21, 29. He has a 10-point game against Denver, then 25, 20, 14, 24, 24. I mean, that's like his auto
beast, dude. Absolute beast.
Automatic, man. All right, this is it. We're gonna close then with my guy. I took a break from him. You guys know 2 years ago, he was my muse. He's my guy. I took a break from him. The knee injury had me a little stressed. Bless you.
Wow. I tried to get to the mute so hard and I missed it. I clicked something else.
Yeah, you're going to have to, I don't know. That was wild. I'm going to try and clip that. That was such a crisp sneeze.
I think I farted too.
Yeah. I mean, you might need to check the undies on that one. But man, Puka Nacua, you are so back, sir. From week 10 on, he comes back. Only Jamarr Chase scored more fantasy points. No one had a higher first read target share, first down per outrun, targets per outrun. Only Marvin Mims, interesting. We'll earmark that, had a higher yards per outrun. I've comped Puka Nacua. Last year, I was like, he's Anquan Bolden. In year one, Anquan Bolden as a rookie sets records. In year two, he was banged up, but he was great when he played. In year three, he had the best year of his career. So Bolden is my analog for Puka. I'm going to draft Puka no matter what, man. That is going to be one of my favorite picks in all of fantasy football.
Yeah, I'll be doing that too. I was a little skeptical going into year two. I have no doubts.
1,000 yards in 12 games would be nuts for Puka if he goes over a K.
Yeah, it's at 990. Yeah, of course we'll get that. That's 990, right? My eyes aren't deceiving me.
Yeah, it's 990.
Yeah, he's going to get that.
Always going to be the injury things with Puka, but that's any player. Like as we learned, like all these guys get hurt. That's the whole thing. It's fantasy. It's a soulless game where guys get hurt. That's just get lucky. Draft the good players.
I'm in though. I like all three of these guys.
Yeah, I'm drafting all three of these guys if I can. But they're all going to be first round guys.
Yep.
But dude, Bijan, Puka, Brian Thomas, they're going to be the bases which I'll build teams next year. So all great choices, guys.
Foundation of fantasy glory. We'll start with these three men.
Wow, it's nice to not have to talk about Elijah Moore's target share or Jalen Coker, even though I do love Jalen Coker. It's nice to not have to worry about that for an episode. So this is a long one. If you guys rock with us the whole time, you're
God
special
bless
individuals.
You if you're still here. Yeah,
yeah, you're special individuals.
Yeah, leave a comment if you're listening to this right now.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
How many fingers?
If you heard the sneeze,
yeah. How many fingers?
We'll measure by the sneeze. Comment if you heard the sneeze.
I've heard that YouTube prefers long videos, so this is going to be great. I can't wait for the 2% click-through rate on this one. It's going to be awesome. But we appreciate you guys for tuning in for another year. Next week we're gonna have our wrap-up show, and then if you're into Dynasty, we're gonna be ranking wide receivers, running backs, guys to trade for, guys to trade away. We're just gonna kill the time before August starts, and we do this all over again. But boys, before we jump, anything to say to the people at home?
I can't wait to find my next BTJ. You just said Dynasty, and I'm kind of excited now.
What if the next BTJ is already the BTJ you have?
It's
just more BTJ. It's
just more BTJ. Fuck, I need to go orchestrate a trade right now.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about Xavier Worthy. I willed that one. Aidan, I willed Worthy and JSN into existence this year. All right.
JSN definitely. Worthy, we're getting there.
Dude, you're on the ledge, dude. Today, we're getting there.
He's just edging.
Yeah, you are. You're just
stop. No.
What did you say? Gushing over? Not
Do you have-
on over.
Yeah.
Do you have
Hit him,
like
just
are you doing one of those
gushing
like
over.
cleanses to start the year, Aidan? Like
Yeah,
you doing a little
I'm-
retention vibes?
Yeah, I'm saving myself this month. Yeah.
All right.
All right, we're out. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and until next time.